We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's February 23rd here in Seoul. I'm Shin-Yeun, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Cheska Dain-Hong.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday.
Yay.
And Park Ki-hoon.
Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. The Korea Football Association has shared its happiness over Lee Gang-in apologizing to his senior and national team captain, Son Heung-min. The two Korean soccer players reportedly clashed the night before the Asian Cup semi-final against Jordan. 10 days after their conflict, Lee took to social media to say how he had apologized to Son. Tottenham Hotspur star Son Heung-min also asked fans to forgive him and Lee Gang-in for their regrettable actions. He went further to ask soccer fans, who were specifically harsh towards the junior Lee Gang-in, to forgive the younger athlete, citing how he's going through a rough patch. The KFA praised Lee's gesture and pointed to how their reconciliation made them as happy as if the national team won a trophy. And T1 won the first round of this year's League of Legends champions Korea Spring, also known as LCK, against Nongsim Red Force on Wednesday. This extends the pro gamer team's winning streak to 8 matches. T1 is led by the legendary faker Lee Sang-hyuk, who has played in 900 LCK matches. And South Koreans seem to be happier with their lives compared to before the pandemic. Statistics Korea on Thursday released a quality of life indicators report that surveyed Koreans aged 19 to 69 in the year 2022, asking whether they were happy with different parts of their lives, including in education, salary, or the real estate situation. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the happiest, the average Korean said they would rate their level of satisfaction toward life as 6.5. This was 0.2 points higher than the year prior. Back in 2019 and 2020, this figure was even lower at 6. Now, compared to the pandemic, people were much more satisfied with their employment status, less lonely, and enjoying their leisure time. But what lowered their perception of their quality of life was lower income with soaring real estate prices and inflation. Though we've seen a slight surge in the level of satisfaction, South Koreans have a relatively low level of happiness compared to other OECD member countries. From the years 2020 to 2022, South Korea's happiness score was at 5.95, and it was 35th out of all 38 countries. So here at the studio, what do you guys think about South Korea's relatively low ranking when it comes to satisfaction towards life or happiness in general? And what do you think we need to do in order for us to become a bit happier?
You know, I believe in the quote, happiness is a choice, not a result. And, you know, you can fulfill all the indicators and still not be happy. And I also think South Korea was never a wealthy and a developed country and only became a member of the OECD in 1996, which is relatively a little slow compared to other nations, obviously. And comparing our country among other OECD members might be a little depressing in a way. But on the contrary, if we compare our country among the rest of the nations around the world, I mean, we could be a very happy and a wealthy country. Now, I keep mentioning the word compare, and perhaps the first step to becoming happy is to stop comparing yourself to others, because I think, you know, it only puts you down. And I purely think just focusing on yourself and building a stronger foundation from there really makes yourself a happy person. And honestly, I would rate myself, my level of happiness, 8 out of 10.
Wow.
And I'm still working my way up there.
Because I think you're not.
I'm smiling.
You are smiling.
So happy.
I think it's because you're not comparing yourself to others.
I don't, actually.
Exactly. Maybe we should just stick to the figures released by Statistics Korea rather than looking into the OECD figures for now. What about you? What were your thoughts on this story?
You know, I love everything that Ki-hoon pointed out, but one of the things that surprised me about the quote that you mentioned, Yeon, is the fact that we are happier after the COVID. And this is, I think, points out to the fact that I think happiness is always comparative, meaning because we were isolated for so long and some people have been out of, you know, active employment. Now that things are picking back up, people do express that kind of happiness compared to the life before. So I guess one of the things that, as Ki-hoon mentioned also, but another thing is realizing that happiness isn't constant, but it is comparative. It's always about, are you doing better than yesterday or are you improving yourself? So for me, the tip is making small promises and keeping them. So it's like a small victory for me on a daily basis. And for me, that's kind of happiness.
That's a really good mental health strategy, in my opinion. So you wouldn't be comparing yourself with others, but rather using yourself as a standard.
And as the metric.
Exactly, and short-term goals. I think that is the way to go. Now we're going to switch gears to our main discussion topic of the day now. Have you ever heard of the the Korean term sasaeng. This refers to obsessive fans who go to the extreme lengths to show their love for a specific celebrity or idol or even a public figure by stalking them or breaking into their houses. So it's quite debatable as to whether we can actually call them fans. And sasaengs in English, we also call them stans. They have been stirring a lot of trouble for a while now, but recently they've hit the headlines again here in the country. And we're going to tell you why, starting with you, Cheska. Tell us why sasaengs have been hitting the headlines.
Yeah, as you mentioned, sasaeng, or known as stans, I think has sort of had its history since really the birth of K-entertainment. And the issue really came to spotlight when a couple of days ago, a former idol member from TVXQ, Kim Jae-jung, publicly made on his social media by recording 6 cabs of these sasaeng fans waiting in line to follow and stalk the artist's van. He wrote that this has been going on for more than 20 years and made a very strong statement regarding this dangerous and almost derogatory behavior of these sasaeng fans. And this really is just the tip of the iceberg. In the twisted name of love, there have been countless reports of people stalking, some even running towards the artist on the stage, even going so far as to break and enter, which is a complete and legit crime. And I think this is sometimes goes so far to inflict physical violence on some of these artists. So even though they do this in the so-called name of quote-unquote fan behaviors, I just want to make it clear, and I hope we all agree, these are illegal criminal behaviors.
I was just going to say that, guising themselves with the term fan, but actually doing criminal conduct is not excusable. And it's not just Kim Jae-jung that we're talking about. We've been seeing this type of behavior happen from the past, right?
All right. I just want to explain, from one of our previous episodes, we tapped on a similar topic.
Yes.
And I remember an expert actually explaining where the word fan derived from. It's actually from the word fanatic.
Exactly.
And that word itself has a very negative connotation, and it suggests unbalanced or obsessive behavior. So just by looking at the word sasaeng pen, I mean, also called stans, I mean, they always take it to another level. And you can only imagine how much pain and stress they give to their favorite stars. So there's been several cases of stans showing illegal actions to members of BTS, not surprisingly. Some even booked their tickets to sit next to, in front of, or even behind the members of BTS members when they were on their flight overseas for their performances. And others somehow found out Jungkook's address, and they sent delivery food as a sign of support. They would not only follow him during his free time, but call his number just to make sure that it was actually his number.
His phone
until
number.
he picked up,
Personal phone number.
They would just constantly call him over and over. And he actually posted saying, I love the support, love and support you're giving me, but I don't need the food. I don't need the phone calls. I'll do my best to, satisfy you guys, but please, let's not cross the line. And, the list goes on. But I think the stans need to realize that they're not friends of their favorite superstar celebrities, and they do not have any right to invade their privacy in any way whatsoever.
Exactly, I completely agree, because number one, how did they find out Jungkook's personal phone number, where they would be sitting on the plane, and
so scary.
And house address? I think that's a little creepy, which is exactly why I think there needs to be a definitive line between what we define as stan or sasaeng with a fan. I don't want to even use the word fan when we're considering sasaeng. What do you think the distinction should be then?
I think it's actually very simple, but I guess it's not very simple for people who, are sort of thinking in one extreme. But just to put it, going above and beyond to infringe upon their private life. I mean, these are artists, right? Their job is to perform, and they have public avenues where they interact with the fan to show off their craft, whether it be singing or dancing or even just, having a fan meeting. But anything outside of that, that is not public, is considered private. So you can't be chasing people around, following to their homes, taking photos while they're out with their families, as Q mentioned, calling them incessantly just to get to check their voices, and even going further to make profit off of it, which I would go so far as to say is almost a parasitic behavior. It is, to be honest.
What about you, Q? What would you think is the definition or distinction between a sasaeng and a fan?
Well, fans, they have their own guidelines, and they know which lines not to cross, and they like to keep it that way because that's their way of showing the support to their celebrities. But whereas these sasaeng pendant, or like stans we call it, what they do is they even break into their houses, and which is burglary. And they steal the clothes and personal items, and some of them they sell it online at a ridiculously high price.
Exactly.
Another illegal act. But on the other hand, like K-pop artists and celebrities, they try their best to really respect and understand these sasaeng팬들 or stans. But at the end of the day, they are humans as well, and they have their limits.
Of course.
And they have all the reasons to take legal action against these. And the irony is that this action actually sparks more attention from these stans and their community, and it will give them more opportunity to voice out their opinions, why they do this. You know, it's out of pure love and support, and they say, because of us, you know, you're still performing so well. You know, we're helping you financially with your popularity as well. So it's an ongoing issue that needs to be resolved very soon, I think.
Exactly. And you mentioned a really good point there. A lot of stans are justifying their actions, saying that this is only a way of expressing their love towards a celebrity that they really like or a public figure that they like. But if you really define the definition of love, shouldn't love be something where you do something for someone without wanting anything in return? But what we're seeing with these obsessive fans out there is sometimes they're threatening their favorite celebrity or K-pop star for not reciprocating the love, which is not the way to go. And we asked our viewers the same question, what they would consider to be the appropriate way of showing one's affection or interest towards a celebrity crush should be. Take a look at the screen to find out what three of them had to share with us. Let's start with Giselle. Giselle said, I define an obsessive fan as one who has lost touch with reality and thrown out their common sense due to their over-fascination and desire for a celebrity. Ramsey said, it becomes extreme when a fan crosses boundaries and forgets the concept of respect. Stalking or invading an idol's personal space is disappointing, as extreme fans tend to forget idols are human too. Tasmia said, obsessive fans are the fans who love their celebrities blindly, and this mentally tortures them, thinking that it's love, when in reality, it's not at all. And I think we can tell that a lot of our global viewers are aware of what sasaengs or stans are, because obsessive fans are all over the world. It's not just confined here to Korea. So we're going to take a look at some cases where international sasaengs bothered celebrities or their favorite public figures.
You know, we all know K-pop stars have become widely known on a global scale, and we've seen an increasing number of international fans. And like, we've seen similar traits of stans as well from them as well, just like the Koreans. In the US, some stans would break into hotel rooms of their favorite K-pop idols and again steal their personal items like underwear.
Oh, that is so.
And again, they would sell it online at a ridiculously high price. And I'm sure other stans, like the more extreme stans, would actually buy it and they will make a profit out of it. And another fan broke into a favorite singer's house in LA, slept overnight, and was wearing one of the singer's hoodie and just walking around as though it was her house until she got caught.
That is so scary.
That's illegal.
It is very illegal, of course. You know, while this may be a little interesting and just a fun topic and light topic to talk about just among us, I think if you're the victim, I'll be traumatized, I'll be scared, and just think about, you know, moving houses or just being watchful all the time, like looking around to see if someone's following me or just, you know, being a paparazzi or whatever. So I think, look, being a celebrity is a great job. Let me give you that, no doubt. I actually wanted to be one myself, but I think because of these kind of extreme people, it makes their lives so much more difficult. And that's what makes them, you know, want to hide more and do things a bit more secretly, which causes more problems to the public. So I think it's definitely something that needs to be changed right now.
It's a vicious cycle because sometimes we have way too high standards for public figures or celebrities out there. We say they earn a lot of money, they're gaining off their reputation from the love of the public. But does that mean that their basic human rights should be infringed? That should be a question that we should keep in mind. What about you? Could you also introduce some cases abroad where we've seen stans really go too far?
Yeah, I mean, there's too many. I mean, and also as Ki-hoon mentioned, I would be traumatized if I opened the door and had someone just sleeping in my bed, just walking around and even just saying like, hey, welcome back. That's just crazy. But these things sort of do happen very often, especially in Hollywood, because they have a long history of some of the most obnoxious and malicious paparazzis. And some actors even became physically violent because of traumas, as Ki-hoon mentioned, from these parasitic paparazzis that would pull ridiculous stunts to get any reaction out of the actors, because then that would also make a good shot in the market. So there are also numerous cases of some terrifying stalkers, celebrities like Britney Spears, Ariana Grande. They all filed for restraining orders at court, but these people still break the law and enter their houses receiving multiple death threats. I just want to point out this one thing that I found out, and Taylor Swift even carries a quick clot bandage, which is an army grade for gunshot wounds and stabbing, because she has received some threats, and she even got a bulletproof car after she made her political views public, because she was scared that some of the quote-unquote fans or anti-fans would attack her in any circumstance.
And can you blame her? Which is exactly why we need stronger legal regulations out there, and to find out what type of them are in place to ensure the safety of celebrities or public figures, especially here in Korea, we're going to include a partner lawyer in our talks. Stay tuned for a live interview. We're now going to include a partner lawyer at Peter & Kim in our talks. It's Yoon Seok-jun. Welcome, Seok-jun.
Morning.
All right, so I'd like to ask you the first question. What are the laws targeting sasaengs or stans here in Korea?
So yeah, previously stalking someone had been punished as a violation of 경범죄 처벌법, Punishment of Minor Offenses Act. Under that act, following someone, repeatedly calling someone, or sending messages, letters, or emails, even lurking to meet someone, is subject to fine not more than 100,000 won, or just $75 in USD terms, or imprisonment of not longer than 30 days. In a way, it was essentially treated as petty offenses. As stalking becomes more serious social issue, and in some cases involved famous K-pop stars, as you just mentioned, actors and actresses, there was a voice that we need a new statute to punish stalking. As a result, Stalking 처벌법, Act on Punishment of Crime of Stalking, was enacted in 2021, quite recently. Under the new act, now stalking is subject to imprisonment of up to 3 years, or fine of up to 30 million won, or 23,000 US dollars. If any dangerous object, such as a knife, is used to conduct the crime, then the punishment increases to be of up to 5 years imprisonment, or 50 million won, or 38,000 US dollars. Further, the statute introduced precautionary measures, and if deemed necessary, a police officer or a court can impose emergency or provisional measures, including temporary restraining order, prohibiting the stalker from approaching the victim closer than 100 meters, or contacting the victim via electronic means. Any violation of this measure is subject to imprisonment of up to 2 years or fine of up to 20 million Korean won. Of course, if the crime is elevated to a level of more serious crimes, such as assault and battery, blackmailing, interference with business, trespassing, or in few tragic cases of murder, that crime is punishable under the relevant provisions of the Penal Code or other special statutes.
I see. Seok-jun, and I'd like to ask you the last question. Then compared to other parts of the world, how would you evaluate South Korea's current law system when it comes to penalizing these sasaeng fans?
So compared to the US, especially the state of California or Japan, which is quite a close neighbor and share with us the civil law tradition, I think the statutory penalties are not weaker compared to those of other countries. Therefore, I think it is important for the enforcement officers, including the police officers, and the courts to use the measures possible provided by the statute to the maximum extent and actually impose penalties to a level that is strong enough to deter the criminals. So in a way, I believe we are at the stage where actual execution is more important to setting up the strategy.
I see. All right. Thank you so much, Seok-jun. It was a pleasure hearing from you today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and as a final note, I'd like to ask our panelists what measures we'd like to see in order to prevent sasaengs or stans from stopping harassing their favorite celebrities out there. What type of healthy fan culture would you like to see evolve from now on?
You know, I read a psychologist's note regarding this particular behavior, and he or she specifically said that this is an actual potential criminal brewing to happen because this is a mental outburst that just can't be controlled. So I would like to go so far as to say these kind of behaviors can, you know, extend to lovers or even colleagues and not just restricted to artists. So I do hope there's a strict regulation that sort of protects all of us from these kind of behaviors, from harming people, but also like a serious mental rehab for people because they really do need help. This is a mental problem.
Exactly. Adding a psychological aspect to this issue seems to be key because, as you mentioned, this is a distorted definition of love.
Yes.
It's not love, but I think some sasaengs out there perceive it to be, which does need mental diagnosis. What about you, Kyun?
You know, I completely agree with Cheska and you as well. I think sasaeng fans are not accepted within the actual fandom itself, and a normal, healthy fandom culture has its own guidelines, like I said before, and limitations, and that everyone tries to abide by. And I also think that entertainment companies should also take precautionary measures by further warning and educating like possible future sasaeng fans that it's not only illegal, but a behavior that can break the connection and relationship between the artist and the sasaeng fans. And they should keep that in mind.
And now more than ever, especially since K-pop, K-culture, K-dramas is taking the world by storm, I think it's now up to K-fans to set this type of healthy K-fan culture. Now, in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Cheska Dainong
Pleasure's always mine, thank you.
and Park Ki-hoon.
Have a great weekend.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week. We are News Generation.